When I was a kid, I became very, 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 very interested in anything about physics that had to do with time travel. Anything at all. From Einstein's theory of relativity to Einstein-Rosen-Podolsky bridges to Schrodinger's cat theory to all of it. All of it. I know anybody who knows Schrodinger's cat theory, the only way that it ties in at all is it allows, or it's a theory that supports multiple realities, thereby avoiding any paradox by traveling to the past. So, it's more obvious. In looking around on the internet when I was younger, I ran across a couple of websites, and it was easy to get sucked into one concept, like at least briefly before you realize what exactly it is. Basically, there's this guy, Stephen Gibbs. If anybody wants to look him up, look up Stephen Gibbs and his hyperdimensional resonator. You'll find a few websites talking about his amazing mystical time machine. Well, the first little bit of information that you get is this guy supposedly built the time machine and hops around through time. So immediately after finding it, I wanted to know more. I wanted to know how it worked. I wanted to know how to build one. I wanted to know what all he had seen in his travels through time. All this stuff. Now, there's a lot of tales of amazing things that he had done while he traveled through time. Like, he built it into a car and zipped around through time. The whole story was, in 1985, kind of makes you wonder where he got the idea from. In 1985, he got a letter from his future self. And in this letter, it described how he was going to build a time machine and gave him some of the basic concepts for how to build the time machine. Well, the hyperdimensional resonator is what people in that whole area of the internet like to call a psionic device, which means that there's some dials, there's some transistors, there's usually a coil of wire around a crystal, and then there's a coil, a flat like pancake style coil, basically a spiral of wire underneath a plastic plate, and you rub your thumb on the plate while you turn the little dials, and when the plate feels different, that dial's set correctly, and you go on to the next one. The whole while, like, chanting in your head, I want to travel to the year 3000. I want to travel to the year 3000. I want to turn them dial. Oh, feels different. Okay, on to the next dial. I want to chant. Da 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 da. And the most basic of his devices is a giant electromagnet, right, that you stick to your head, and you stick another one to your stomach, and then you plug this thing into the wall, and you're affected by the trans-dimensional field for a certain amount of time, and then you take it all off and shut it all down, and within a few hours' time you are transported mystically through time, if you are of pure intentions and you prayed to Jesus for safety. Now, the praying to Jesus aside, this thing's bunk simply because it's not powerful enough. One, there's just not enough energy going into this device to do anything to affect the space-time continuum. Two, it has no, there's no circuit. There's nothing happening here besides the power's coming out of the wall, going around some wires through some potentiometers, and then this giant electromagnetic field gets blasted into your head. Now, lots of people, at least 20, ordered it from him for like $600, and few of them built their own, and it supposedly only works during certain phases of the moon, and most of them had real fucking sad sob stories about what they wanted to change in their life. Now, I realized pretty quickly that his whole idea was bunk. I'm making this video because there are going to be kids out there who are interested in this who might not know much about electronics. Now, There are lots of devices out there, out in the internet like this, from the hyperdimensional resonator to the Bayhack flux capacitor to, there's some story, the John Titor story. He has some pictures of like a laser light curving over this gravitational void, and he's this army guy from the future, and like, it's all a bunch of crap. It's all, somebody made it up. They fall for the psychics. They fall for astrology. They fall for Jesus, for Christianity, Judaism, Muslimism, Buddhism. They fall for any and all religions. They want magical things to be real. You know, people want amazing things to happen. And the more of your life that you live without amazing things happening, the more that you're going to crave it, you know, and start thinking that it is real. There are people out there that think that these time machines work. There are people out there that really honestly think that it works. You know, and if you build one and you're like, well, mine didn't work, then they'll be like, oh, well, you didn't do it in this right phase of the moon, or you have to be over a natural grid point. They want it to be true, so when yours doesn't work, there's a plethora of reasons why it didn't work. Or maybe you didn't cleanse the crystals properly in the construction. Maybe you didn't wind all the coils in exactly the right way. Maybe you didn't tune it properly. Maybe you don't have pure intentions, you know? There's too many reasons why. Oh, it went wrong. Oh, it's not the device's fault. It's your fault. You're an idiot. You know? Mine really works. I don't know. Mine does. It's bizarre. And when you start reading this stuff without a solid, even background in electronics, it's easy to get sucked in. Like, if you have a solid background in electronics, you'll be able to see, well, how does this affect anything? Because, you know, if the hyperdimensional resonator can travel through time, setting in front of your television should warp you to another planet. Like, it's, you know, but they don't want to hear it either. They don't want to hear how they're wrong. Because I tried to explain to them, I was like, hey, look, this is a bunch of crap. And there was a while where there was a bunch of people on one message board saying, this is a load of crap, it's not scientifically credible, you're having visions, you're imagining what it would be like to go through time and to do these things. Because every time we said, hey, make a prediction, tell us what's going to be on tomorrow's newspaper. Well, I would, but it would just be an alternate reality's future. It wouldn't be this reality's future. Uh-huh. You know, okay, well, go to the past and get us some artifact from the past. Well, I can only go to alternate realities past. Well, if you can't go to this timeline's past, present, future, whatever, of what use is this device? Especially if it doesn't work every time. You know? My car starts every time I turn the key. My lights turn on every time I flip the switch. There are things in this world that are real, that work, and there are things that aren't. But there you have it. There's my Stephen Gibbs hyperdimensional resonator debuffed fucking video. And this mostly, like, some people aren't even going to give a shit about this video, but there might be a few kids that'll find it and be like, wow, I never really thought about it that way, or I never looked at it that way. Because no one who's honest to themselves has ever built one that's ever worked.
You've been struck by a smooth criminal.